Thing is up and running correctly, and then we will absolutely get rolling for today's stream. All right, we are looking good to go. So hello and welcome to the stream. My name is Aaron Mashbitz. If this is your first time joining me, thank you and welcome. I mostly talk about mindset, mental health, and personal development. I also really care about young men as I'm a coach for young men in the baseball world, so I care about them overall. And I'm the host of a podcast called Something for Everybody. So you can check out my podcast. We have a bunch of episodes. I think episode 448 comes out tomorrow. And so then I'm trying to go live a little bit more often to react and talk about some stuff in real time. And so I have two videos that I'm going to react to today. And I've just seen the headlines and the titles of these videos and figured they might be interesting to react to learn from, and maybe add some commentary and analysis. And I think they're both have something at least to do with young men. That's why I mentioned that at the beginning, because mostly when I do these streams, I'm talking mindset, mental health, and personal development. And that's mostly what my podcast is about. But again, as I said, I'm a coach for young men in the baseball and the mental performance space. So I really do care about young men and them thriving and becoming the best versions of themselves. And so I saw this one video from Megan Kelly where the title is Gen Z Men Have Approach Anxiety and Are Scared to Talk to Women. So we will react to that. And then there's another video that talks about this young woman who started an OnlyFans at 18, which obviously has impact on men, and men are watching OnlyFans. So I think both of these videos are can be very interesting. So we'll see. Hopefully the titles match the actual content of the video and it's not just clickbait garbage. But here we go. Let's see what fucking happens. So I'm going to share the video and we'll just jump right in.
Here is a woman named Lizzie. And she saw an opportunity in these protests, ladies. An opportunity as follows. Watch SOT 19.
Here we are at my official dating profile request. I am 42. Actually, I'm almost 42. I am a relationship anarchist. I am on the lookout for somebody who right now.
First off, what does a relationship anarchist mean? what does that mean? Anyways, funny, good start.
Will I be able to call and say, hey, get in the passenger seat and let's go fuck some shit up? If you're interested in fucking some shit up, if you're not afraid of a woman who can speak her mind, if you're interested in sitting in a side seat, message me. We got shit to do.
None of that stuff, none of those things that she just mentioned are appealing to like an actual sort of masculine men. Now, if you're not that way, and having a woman tell you what to do, and having a woman drive you around, and having a woman want to go fuck shit up, and not bringing you any peace or tranquility, and bringing more sort of chaos into your life, if you're a dude who enjoys that, fucking go along with it. But for me and the dudes that I know and the men that I know, that's not what we're looking for. And there is this thing called like stated and revealed preferences. Like women will state they want this certain thing that sort of fits this like, kind of nice sort of virtue signaling thing. And then their revealed preferences are who they actually date behind closed doors. It seems to be much different. So I don't know this woman, obviously, but just those things off the bat are not going to help her sort of secure sort of a strong masculine man. Because, of course, sometimes I want my wife to drive, but that's only because I need to work in the car, and that's the most safe option. But yeah, it's just funny way to start. Relationship anarchist, and like list a bunch of stuff that like is not appealing to most men. But anyways, here we go. Let's see what these ladies have to say about that.
She blew a kiss. Started off so well, and she's like, "We're gonna go f." Okay, a lot of guys would be into that, and then it turned into something else. And just here's the epilogue. Lizzie did go out. It didn't go very well. Here's SOT 20.
I don't know how to plead enough with people. This is happening. This is happening. They are stealing people. If you are out there right now acting like everything's totally fine, you're just gonna like go get a massage or like go out to brunch with some friends, you need to stop. You need to open your eyes, because the reality of what is happening is atrocious.
I mean, I don't exactly know what she's referring to, like what sort of hardship or pain or, war or, travesty or atrocity she's referring to. And there's a lot of them. I totally agree. But if we live our lives totally obsessed with everything that's going on around the world, then we're going to be miserable excuse me, miserable all the time. So I do think obviously there is a place to care about others and the world. And like one of the most important things you can do for your health and for your life is be of service to other people. Of course, that's absolutely paramount. But if we, again, spend all of our time obsessing obsessing over everything else except uh like like what we can actually do to make the world a better place, like what we actually have control over ourselves, our community. If we just obsess about everything else, we're never going to get anything done, and again, we're going to be miserable. So it starts with like having some control over ourselves and then slowly building from there, because again, we want to become the best version of ourselves in greatest service to the world. But if that service to the world is like at a total detriment of our health and our safety and like our livelihood, then really what's actually the point? So again, I don't know what sort of atrocity she's referring to. She's probably referring to all of them all of the time, but that's just not a way to live or be healthy or be healthy, healthy and happy, healthy. That's not a way to be healthy or happy, at all. So anyways, let's continue.
All right. Now you tell me whether she is crying over what's happening on the streets of Minneapolis or the fact that girl can't get a date.
Megan, it's hard to tell where all of the endless tears are coming from the millennial woman generation. I've never been more grateful than right now to be Generation Z. We've got a lot of promise ahead of us. I also think the keffia is a really nice touch draped around the shoulders there. It's like these people don't even know what they're advocating for. But I think millennial women.
Right. How many causes are at issue on this particular drive, madam?
Exactly. But this
again, my point, right? This woman seems to be obsessed about every topic known to man. And again, there is a place for us to care about what's happening in the world. Of course, we are human beings who should care about other human beings, especially the ones that are suffering the most out of anyone on the planet. But if that's all we ever do, and we obsess and obsess and obsess and obsess about everything outside of our control, then we're never, ever, ever, ever going to be happy at all, ever. So we have to focus on what we can control and then allow that to sort of ripple out into the community. I think that's extremely important when thinking about any cause on earth that we care about.
Concept of millennial women embracing toxic empathy is so important, because we have gaslit entire generations of people in our society and culture to believe that they are really good people if they go out and they hit police officers with their car, or they're protesting to bring Sharia law into American culture, and they're a really bad person if they believe in objective reality or can answer the question like, what is a woman? We have a lot of work to do when it comes to reclaiming culture for young women in our country, and I'm excited to get that work done.
Yeah, I mean, it's Gad Sad calls it suicidal empathy. Dr. Jordan Peterson calls it unearned moral virtue. The thing about it is, whether these people, whoever they are, believe in these things or not, they virtue signal all the time on the internet, and that virtue signaling is rewarded by other people telling them how nice they are and how great they are. And it's like, and so if you get rewarded for certain behavior, guess what you're going to do? You're going to repeat that behavior because there's a reward that comes with it. You can talk about this for any habit known to man. If you want to start a good habit, okay, well, you anchor it to a tiny behavior and you celebrate immediately. You reward that behavior because you want to repeat it. Same thing with all the virtue signaling that happens on the internet, calling out these people, trying to cancel these people, trying to be nice to everyone all the time about everything, and then not understanding the truth or accepting reality or anything like that. It's like such unearned moral virtue, and it is suicidal empathy, because it obviously, in the long run, causes more harm than good, right? Of course, in the short term, potentially, like pretending to be nice to someone or pretending to care about their feelings or being empathetic towards their situation or just virtue signaling towards them could feel nice in the moment, but over the long run, it's not. It ruins things. It ruins society. It ruins cultures. It ruins our own health. Like whatever the case may be in terms of what we're actually specifically looking at. But the problem with social is there's two sides that get rewarded, whether it's the super virtue signaling or the unearned moral virtue or the suicidal empathy, or on the opposite side, it's like the rage bait conspiracy theory bullshit. And so those are the opposite ends of the spectrum, and they both get rewarded heavily on the internet. And so if they get rewarded heavily on the internet, again, what were you going to do? Repeat, repeat, repeat. And so then what's in the middle is like probably the truth, probably the good stuff, probably some nuance, probably some, black and white mixing some gray, right? Where the actual conversation lives and where most normal people live in. But those voices don't generally get heard all the time because of so much shit and bullshit on either side of the spectrum. Anyways, let's continue.
Yes. And I'm just going to say, I don't think "come with me, we're going to fuck shit up" is like the greatest intro to getting the best kind of man. But they are.
It certainly is not Megyn Kelly. It certainly is not.
Having problems at the Gen Z level. You tell me whether you know about this, Haley, because the New York Post reports that the Gen Z men are not asking women out at all. They cite a man named Ryan Kessler. It's amazing that somebody actually
agreed to do this.
Went on the record with this. Right? He's 28 years old. He is, quote, terrified of talking to women. His hesitancy stems from, quote, the fear of being mistaken as a toxically macho, boneheaded creep. He told the Post, when trying to win over a potential love interest, the last thing he wants is to be considered a jerk who makes ladies cringe rather than swoon with a clumsy pickup line and unwelcome advances. I never want to make the other person feel uncomfortable, and I want to be respectful. Some girls don't want to be approached at all, so I'm always trying to err on the side of caution. Not wanting to come off as pushy is a concern shared by nearly half of single men in the U.S. who grapple with approach anxiety, Haley. So what is our message to them?
This is pretty tragic. Also, you're not going to swoon anyone.
All right, before she gives her take, let me just give you my take. Dudes, for all of time, it's been scary to approach women, but we just fucking do it anyways. So that's the fucking vibe, right? But nowadays, there's so much that can happen when you go and talk to a woman. Now, I'm sort of playing devil's advocate here. I'll tell you my actual insights that I give to the young men that I talk to and work with who actually want to be with a woman and have sex with a woman, because that's a lot of driving factor for, at least it was for me back in the day. Now, let me tell you. Now, you could potentially go up to a woman now, and of course, you can get rejected. That's scary. That hurts. That's painful. But it could also be filmed. You could also be called creepy. You could also be called a misogynist. You could also be called toxic masculinity. Like, you could be called all of these things while it could be filmed, while it could be blasted on the internet. But maybe it's not filmed. Maybe someone writes a Twitter thread about you. Now the whole world can see that you were a total scumbag creep because you touched her inappropriately when she deemed it was inappropriate and it was creepy. And you see all these fucking videos at the gym of dudes getting filmed and talking to women, then they're getting filmed and they're getting blasted online. And then it's all this horse shit that surrounds it. And so that's one issue. And then the other issue is that there's been sort of a societal sort of attack on masculinity, calling it all toxic. Well, if I'm a young man and I believe I'm inherently toxic, that everything I do is toxic because I have masculine energy, because I am a man, then I am not going to do anything. I'm either going to go on the far end of the spectrum and be like someone like Andrew Tate, who is actually a bad human being, or I'm just going to go die into a hole and curl myself up. We know that men right now are 4 times more likely to die by suicide than women. And this has a lot to do with society, culture, factors like this. Not all of it, of course, there's mental health and all of that, situations involving that as well. But now, I don't know if I love the phrase approach anxiety, because anxiety is sort of, that term is overused. But men throughout history, we've felt sort of nervous to approach women. But what did we do? We fucking did it anyways, because the driving force of wanting to meet a woman and talk to a woman and have sex with that woman was way more important than how nervous I felt or how rejected I might feel. And so, of course, men feel this way. You can understand why they feel this way, because they've been called creepy and toxic and weird and strange, and that their toxicity is everywhere, and they've ruined society, and they rape and they pillage and they do all this horrible shit. So why on earth, if I'm a man and I hear that my whole life and now I'm 25 years old, why on earth would I risk any of that to go and talk to a woman? Now, do I think that's right? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Young men need our help. Young men need encouragement. Young men need role models, and young men need some activation energy. The only reason when I was growing up that I got my shit together when I was like 18 to 25 is because I wanted to have sex with women. And so I showered, I went to the gym, I learned how to communicate, I got a fucking job, I had a cool job, I was chasing my dreams, I had prospects because I wanted to have sex with women. And because I played sports for so long, I understood the importance of rejection. I understood that every time I took a swing, I was not going to get a hit. Every time I took a swing, I was not going to hit a home run. But I had to step back in the batter's box and keep swinging and swinging and swinging and swinging and swinging. Because if you're a young man and you can build up this callus for rejection, you are going to succeed far greater than anyone else in every domain, whether that's business, your love life, all of this type of stuff. And so, of course, yes, you might feel anxious or nervous, but we feel anxious or nervous every time we do anything that we care about. And so what you can say to yourself is, I'm excited, I'm excited, I'm excited. I have the chance to talk to a woman that I think is beautiful or cute or hot or whatever the case may be, whatever word you want to use to describe it. And you have to go and do it anyways. And you have to have friends and role models who support you in that journey, because you're going to have to do the same thing when you apply for a job. And you have to do the same thing if you want to have sex or go on a date with a woman ever. It's going to suck. Dating sucks until it doesn't, until you find the person you want to spend the rest of your life with, which is a fucking miracle. And thank God that happened to me. Thank God I found my wife, and now we have a 4-month-old son. But if you want to do any of these things, you have to step into the fire. And you have to have the ability to display your excellence. And the only way you can display your excellence is in real time. Maybe you don't like dating apps, right? And then another thing to notice is like all of this shit goes out the window about being creepy or weird if the dude is attractive enough. Right? That's a really important factor to understand. So to make yourself as attractive as possible, what traits can you display? What hygiene do you have? Right? What clothes do you wear? Do you exercise? Do you go to the gym? Do you clean yourself up? Right? All of that stuff, all of that added attractiveness will make your advances on a woman seem less creepy because the more attractive you are. And are you funny? Do you have a great joke? Do you have a good sense of humor? Do you have friends that you can meet? How can you display your excellence, and how can you develop that excellence over time if you are a young man? That's really important. And then the most important thing is building up that callus for rejection, being able to be shut down, say, okay, it's all good. Yes, that sucked. I didn't die. Let's get back at it, right? That's a really important factor. Now, I don't know if I shared all of my opinions, but that's at least sort of a starting point. And again, I have a podcast called Something for Everybody, which is on all major podcast platforms. And I've done quite a few episodes about young men, from insights from Scott Galloway and Tim Ferriss and all these type of people that might help the young man watching this right now to develop the skills, the tools, and the ability to go and talk to women, to date women, or to get the job you want, or to build your body, or whatever the case may be. Or maybe it's all of that. Maybe you want to do all of that, which is really, really good thing that you can do, because you are a man and you are not toxic. Your masculinity is not toxic. Your masculinity is the essence of who you are. And masculinity is like a hammer. A hammer can be used to build a house, or a hammer can be used to smash someone over the head with. It's about the person displaying that masculinity. And I define masculinity as the warrior poet. The warrior poet, someone who can provide, someone who can protect, someone who has, is dangerous and competent in the way they speak and the way they act and how they protect someone. But they're also a poet in terms of they can share beauty, they can share emotions, they can express love. They're a warrior poet. That is the true essence of bringing out your best masculine self. And that's really what women want. Again, stated and revealed preferences. They may state that they want some sort of wussy passenger sitting fucking guy, but really they want a strong masculine man who can protect and lead. So you have to become that. You have to have the abilities to develop that, and then you will attract the right women, not the next day, over time, especially if you're putting yourself out there on a consistent basis. So let's see what this woman has to say.
You don't have the balls to go up and ask them out to begin with. I mean, this is really just fear. It's social anxiety. I think a lot of this stems in Gen Z from COVID. I think a lot of people got very comfortable just sitting behind their screens, behind their Zoom laptops. They're not going into school anymore. Their social activities were canceled. And I think a lot of people found comfort in that. A lot of people that struggle with social anxiety, which is horrible to see what this is done to society and specifically in dating. But I think that this is also a pretty nasty side effect of dating culture and dating app culture as well. because dating apps kind of take away the fear, right? You don't have to be rejected face to face. You don't have to be rejected in real life. You don't have to go up to a girl and say, "Hey, I think you're cute," and she says, "Ew, get away from me," or "No."
I disagree. I disagree. For the average looking man, dating apps are fucking atrocious because they never get a like. They never get a match, and they keep swiping and swiping and swiping and swiping because average looking men do not succeed on dating apps because girls and women are just looking at what's right in front of them, the pictures. And if you're quote unquote average looking, you're going to have literally almost zero success on dating apps. And so there is a ton of fear and shame that goes in that. So now it's sort of coupled on both. If I'm a sort of an average looking guy, I'm not going to get on dating apps because I'm literally going to get 0 likes. And then I'm not going to go into the dating market, into the world, because I'm scared of rejection and I have anxiety or nervousness, or what if I'm called creepy or a weirdo? Like, all of these things are happening inside the male brain. And we have to, as men, we have to counteract that. Like, if you don't want to be on dating apps, great. But what other environments are you going into that you can display your excellence, display your humor, your strength, your kindness, display that you have a great job, or that you're building something, or you're passionate about something? Do you go to a run club, a workout class, a religious community? Do you go to the bar? Do you go to the same coffee shop where you can actually meet people on a consistent basis, and you're not relying on just the one picture you have on your fucking dating app that's going to get swiped no all the time, and now you feel like a piece of shit? Like, where are you going to put yourself out there? It is going to suck. Everything sucks. That's hard. Everything takes hard work. Your job, your life, your family, finding someone, it all takes hard work. You have to consistently put yourself out there. And while you're putting yourself out there, you have to build up the requisite skills that make you a great man. Do you have the ability to take care of a family, take care of a kid, to be a consistent partner, to communicate, to hold yourself accountable, to be responsible? Do you have those skills? If not, great. Let's build them one by one, too small to fail. And then continue to go out there and work on your communication skills, and work on expressing yourself, and work on being able to, laugh and have fun and enjoy yourself and express your interests, right? All of these things take time. It doesn't just fucking happen. It doesn't just fucking happen. So I slightly disagree with her. Like, for the average looking man, dating apps are the worst.
I have a boyfriend or anything like that. You assume if you're on a dating app that the other person, if they're being honest, is single. And then if you match, they also like you back. So you don't have to go out in public when you go to a bar and shoot your shot, because you don't have to worry about that. You could just hang out with your friends and then go home and let the dating app do all the work for you.
Yeah, back in my day, when I was your age, they had to come over to us at a bar or a restaurant or a campus or whatever. They had to. But, I'm channeling Jordan Peterson right now because I know exactly what he would be saying. He would be saying, this is the fault of the women. And I don't think that would be wrong. Like, clearly this poor guy, my heart goes out to him, has had enough. I'm just going to take a shot and say probably leftist women be like, sit your ass down. How dare you come over to me? Or shoot him down as like somehow stepping on her feminist power by coming over with a pickup line that a lot of these guys are now feeling really gun shy about it. Isabel,
You're absolutely correct.
Literally what I just said. Let's go. Fire me up. I think I study enough Dr. Jordan Peterson to know. Like, I don't know if I would say the fault of women, because, that's a sort of a broad, sort of really dominating term. But there is a sense like culture has made men feel this way. And what can we do to reverse that trend, to uplift men, to encourage men? Because society needs men, of course, obvious. Society needs great men. Society needs great leaders, and the great young men that we have now, behavior, by not calling it creepy or weird or whatever. Like, everyone's going to make mistakes. I'm sure some of my advances to women back in the day were creepy. Did I learn? Yes. Did I grow? Yes. Did I evolve? Yes. Because I had the opportunity to. I wasn't filmed and then blasted on Instagram for fucking 800 million people to see and now called a loser because of it. So there's so many things that are happening inside the brain of a man that will make them hesitant to go and talk to women. But then if you do it, there's so much beauty that comes out of it. Yeah, of course, if you still might get rejected, but you didn't die. You learned, you built up a callus for it. And also you might have a great conversation. At the end of the night, the woman may say, hey, great conversation. I'll see you next time. You might not get a phone number, but whatever. At least you had a conversation for an hour. You got to practice. Maybe you didn't have sex with them. Maybe you never saw them again. Maybe you didn't get a phone number. But there's so much learning and experience that grows, that comes from that, just from going out there and shooting your shot and trying and giving your best effort. And that literally can be applied to everything in your life. So let's see what this woman has to say.
And what's really sad is we've created an entire culture for young men to just choose to self-censor up front when it comes to basic chivalry of wanting to hold the door open for someone or help them lift their bag on the airplane into the overhead bin, because they've been so regularly yelled at by these radical leftist women that that's so anti-feminist and you hate women for suggesting that you should be a helping hand. I have an almost 9-month-old daughter, and I can't tell you how many times I was on planes when I was heavily pregnant with my daughter Isla that I actually had to go out of my way to ask men for help with my heavy suitcase that I wasn't supposed to be lifting in my 3rd trimester of pregnancy, because no one was offering anymore. So I do think we've really built this culture led by young women to stay away from me, men, don't approach me, don't.
Yeah, man, fuck all that shit. Fuck all that shit. Help someone out. Be kind. You see someone in need, you help them. You know, someone struggling with their bags at the grocery store, offer to help them, open the door on the airplane, all this type of stuff. I promise you, people are going to accept that help. And the people that don't, fuck them.
Come talk to me. And yet most of the studies that are being done on dating show that when young men do ask a woman out on a date, upwards of 90+% of the time, it's successful because nobody is asking in the first place. So I think we have to have kind of a reckoning as a generation with what we're okay with societally now, and see a lot more leadership from these young men to.
Yeah, young men hear that. Like the young women are telling you, we want to be asked out. So go for it. Have a conversation, learn to communicate, learn to express yourself, your interests, what you care about, learn a nice opening line that's funny, be charming, right? Make eye contact, listen, right? All of these skills can be developed, and women want to be approached. They do. I don't give a fuck what some of these weird sort of leftist feminist women say. That's stated. Revealed is that they want to be approached. They want to be, sought after. They want to be liked, right? They want that. They do. I promise.
To just ask.
The women do want it, Haley. The Post reports that that 72% of women between the ages of 18 and 30 and 68% between the ages of 30 and 40 hope to be approached more. And then, of course, the Post has got a quote from somebody, a guy saying, well, I don't see anything wrong with the women approaching men for dates. He says, I know there's the argument that men used to go to war, but now women can too. So why can't they do the approaching? And my answer to that is, thousands of years of biology and evolution. Like, men are programmed just genetically to be the pursuers, to come after the prey, to be the lion. And women enjoy that. Most normal women love to be pursued. And there's a whole game of cat and mouse that's kind of like a long foreplay kind of thing. And I resent the obnoxious feminists who have tried to beat this out of our men. I don't know. What would you say to a guy in this position who are afraid, who don't know how to approach a woman in a bar or elsewhere with a pickup line? Like, what's your advice to them?
Leave the pickup line at home. I would just say strike up a conversation as you would anyone else. I have shot my shot, right? I have gone up to guys that I thought are cute and I give them my number or whatever, and it doesn't work out, and it's okay, right? Like, I'm here, I'm alive to tell the tale. Nothing happened to me. I didn't die. And I'll tell you a personal story. I was at a Christmas party a few weeks ago, and I got a DM the next day from a guy saying, hey, my friend saw you at the party last night, thought you were cute. Here's his picture. Here's his number. Reach out to him if you'd like to go on a date. I said, no, absolutely not.
No shot, dudes. No shot. Your friend, whoever the friend is, it's like, send her a DM yourself, mate. It's like, also, you think the waitress is cute and you had a great conversation during dinner, leave your fucking phone number. Who cares? It might never happen. Or like, give her your phone number, or say, hey, here's my whatever. Like, just do it. You never know what's going to happen. Of course, you're going to get rejected. Of course, there's going to be bad conversations. Of course, you're going to get shut down. Of course, all of those things are going to happen. But if you are interested in something and you want something, you have to go after it, whether that's in business, in life, like with a girl. Like, and you have to do it in a way, obviously that's respectful and kind and chivalrous and things of that nature. But women do like to be pursued and they like to be wanted. And just remember that.
Say,
friend,
oh, hell no.
your friend was in the same room as me and you didn't take the opportunity to come and meet me in real life. The bar's in hell. Come up to me and ask me out in real life.
Yes, exactly right. I mean, I'm old school, right? I'm Gen X, but I would never go. I would not never ask a man out, and I would never go out with a man who is too timid to approach me. Like,
Exactly.
you have to be fearless and bold, and I expect you to be a leader. Like, I expect you to be, even in my relationship, I'm obviously an A-type personality, but in my relationship, my husband is the dominant personality. He's much more of the A personality, and I'd have it no other way. But that has to start from the very beginning. I think conservative women are different. Some liberal women are like we are, but I think conservative women are different. A new year means new financial goals, like making sure you're saving.
Thanks, Megan. Appreciate that. Stop sharing that one. Let's see. Yeah, that was a decent conversation, I think, in terms of, you know, dating, what young men want. And I think I agreed for the most part with what they're saying, right? It's maybe at the fault of women or the fault of feminism, whatever you want to do it. It just still, it doesn't really matter whose fault it is. We need a solution. We need answers to this problem, right? Again, I talk about young men being, or men just in general, being 4 times more likely to die by suicide than women, right? Men aren't asking women out. They're not going out into the real world. We're about to talk about OnlyFans here in a second, right? That has an impact of men not going out into the world because they can get this sort of virtual AI girlfriend bullshit behind the screen. And so many different factors are going into play about why young men don't want to go out and approach women. But um, we got to move through our fears anyways. Again, as Dr. Jordan Peterson says, you're going to be scared no matter what. And you're not going to get less scared as you move forward. You're going to get more brave. And that is really important. Like, every time you go talk to a woman, you might feel scared or nervous. And that's fine. But the more reps you get, the more brave you're going to get, and the more courageous you're going to feel every time you do it. And then going up there is like nothing now. You want to talk to that woman at the bar, the movie theater, in line at the coffee shop. You're like, fuck it. I've done this a zillion times before. Who knows what's going to happen? Hey, how's it going? What's up? I'm just standing in line here, and I don't know what you fucking say. I'm out of the game. But like, something to spark a conversation, or, whatever the case may be, in a bar, asking to buy a drink, or, how often they go. I don't know what the vibe is, and I have to really think about, like, what you would exactly want to say in a certain situation, in the type of environment you might be in. But it's about approaching, it's about pursuing, and it's about knowing that even if you get rejected, you're not going to die. It's going to be okay. And you build that callus for rejection, knowing that you can always get back up and you can always try again. And so let's move on to the next video here.
Exactly like we all thought it would, and that's with an 18-year-old starting in OnlyFans. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
Guys, before we get into today's video, please like and subscribe. Yes, today we're talking about Piper Raquel, and I think for the final time on this channel. I have 2 videos on this young woman because, unfortunately, when I did my first video on her, I uncovered what I believe to be a web of exploitation of minors on the internet. And we're going to recap that story before we get into our final end piece of it, which unfortunately is an 18-year-old girl starting in OnlyFans as soon as she turns 18. That girl is Piper Raquel. Now, just to refresh our memories a little bit, Piper Raquel, I think, symbolizes a generation of young women who has been exploited by the internet and the people around them, who have been sexualized at a very young age, unfortunately. And I think that sexualization has led to poor decision making in adulthood, but that's just my opinion. Now, Piper Raquel, for those of you who don't know, is an online influencer, YouTuber, OnlyFans creator now, who's been on the internet for a very, very long time and has sort of built a cult following around her. Some of her earliest YouTube videos are very strange, one of which is a shaving cream bathtub challenge that she did with her brother, who was really not her brother. He was her mother's boyfriend, pretending to be her brother on YouTube. Now, mind you, this shaving cream bathtub challenge that was posted on YouTube was posted 8 years ago now, which would have made her 10 years old. Now, when you look into her YouTube a little further, you're going to find all these strange thumbnails that feature her
12 million YouTube subscribers is fucking insane. And also, I've watched those other 2 previous videos from Amala, and they're very interesting and gross. And it almost seems like Piper's parents are pimping her out. And it's actually vile and quite evil and really disgusting. And I think, yeah, it's indicative to a sort of larger societal issue where we're celebrating OnlyFans, where we're celebrating getting into sex work, where we're celebrating prostitution and selling our body because you can be rich and famous and have a bunch of followers and attention and that's all that fucking matters. That's the only thing that's important. And obviously that's not true. That's detrimental to society. It's detrimental to your health. And you can see from, you look at any, former porn star who's like trying to better their life or trying to, forget about what they did or, make a new image for themselves. They all regret it. Everyone regrets it. Now, I'm not saying I have no idea what's happening on her OnlyFans, and I'm never going to know, but it's still not appropriate and it's still wrong, but it makes sense based on our culture that right when I turn 18, here we go, I'm going to start selling my body. Because if you watch some of the other videos that Amala has posted on her, she's already been doing that. Her parents have already been doing that, kind of, I wouldn't say forcing her. I have no idea, but maybe some coercion to make money. And like, she's already been selling stuff on like a different site, some other like bikini type swimsuit photos. And then right when she turns 18, she gets on OnlyFans. The whole thing is fucking disgusting and vile. But it makes sense as to why she did it because it's so celebrated in our culture. Whether you see Bonnie Blue or Lily Phillips getting fucking celebrated for banging 500 dudes and like Sophie Rain making zillions of dollars and everyone caring about it and thinking that's cool when all she's doing is selling her body. And it's like, no, this is not the pathway forward because where does this end? There is no end. The fringe becomes the fringe becomes the fringe, and it keeps getting extended out farther and farther and farther. And then there's no fucking end to it. And now I don't know where society goes after that.
With boys doing different things, sort of alluding to things in a sexual nature. Just a treasure trove of just weird posts, in my opinion, that went on for years and years. And we originally spoke about Piper because she was invited to something called the Bop House, which is a house where OnlyFans creators get together and they make their sexual content with one another. She was invited to that house at 17 to make a bunch of TikToks, which of course is a red flag. And that red flag that we waved turned out to be a pretty valid one, considering as soon as she turned 18, she started an OnlyFans. Now, as I was looking into Piper Raquel's background and her presence online, I found what I believe to be some pretty disturbing things that not only involved her, but other minors on the internet. One of the weird things I found was a page that she had on a website called Brand Army. And she was not the only minor with a page like this. Now, when you go to the page, you're going to find that there are three.
This is what I was alluding to earlier. Because I watched this video that Amala made. And it's, again, if you're interested in this topic and how kind of vile and evil this shit is, you should definitely look at it.
Tiers of membership. There's a $5 membership, a $30 membership, and a $100 membership. I wonder what you're getting there. And in the About Me, it says, I'm so excited to share more of me with you. Kissy face, lock emoji, parent managed. Tens of thousands of people are already on this page, have signed up, have gotten the photos, and the actual profile picture on this page is Piper in a bikini posing sexually. And when you read the description for the $100 package, it says, congrats on joining Piper Platinum Plus. You will receive one free full set, the first of every month, a free set of your choice.
The sort of the creepiest part about this is it's parent managed, which kind of means it's parent forced because they're probably making money from her. Like there's no way she's just keeping all of the money, and it's sort of gross either way. But there maybe potentially seems like they're sort of forcing her to do this because they like the money that comes with it. And as a parent, current parent, a very young child, it's fucking evil. It's fucking evil shit.
To unlock on your birthday, free DMs, free access to live streams, priority customs, free behind the scenes, and biggest discount access to unlock all photos with a purple devil emoji and a monkey with its hand over its eyes. So I imagine when they're talking about sets or getting a free full set, they're talking about photos of some sort. I don't know what priority customs means. I'm going to leave that to your imagination. And of course, the devil emoji and the little monkey with the hand over the eyes insinuates what you would be signing up for here. And why anybody would be paying $100 a month for this is beyond me. But for the sake of confirming my suspicions, I'm going to see what Piper Pro Plus actually is. And let's go ahead and fork out $5. So guys, I paid $5 to unlock this page. And what you get when you unlock this page is a treasure trove of sexual photos of a minor. Now, I'll remind you again, when I found this page, Piper Raquel was 17 years old, and this page was supposedly parent managed. And that's what the pages of not only her, but other minors stated as you opened them and tried to subscribe. This took me down a rabbit hole on a ton of different sites where there are teen influencers, at least that's what they're calling themselves, that are opening up these subscription pages and allowing their patrons to purchase bikini-clad photos and sexually suggestive photos. And again, an important note is that almost all of these sites claimed to be parent managed, at least for their junior users under 18. And then of course I have to ask myself, which parent of Piper's is allowing this to happen and is allegedly running these websites like the site on Brand Army? Now, I don't know this to be true, but allegedly in my research, all roads lead to Piper Raquel's mother. I actually uncovered that Piper Raquel's mother, alongside her boyfriend, that guy who was pretending to be Piper's brother in the shaving cream challenge or whatever, they were sued for child abuse and retaliation by kids who were involved in the content creation that was happening on Piper Raquel's YouTube page. One of the plaintiffs in this lawsuit actually...
I mean, the more Amla goes into this stuff, the more fucking vile it gets. And then you got the sort of the larger also societal question on top of that is, who are the people that are actually signing up for this? It's also disgusting, also needs accountability, also needs repercussion for their actions. It's like the whole mess of it, young women putting all this stuff out on the internet, men of all ages, buying and signing up for this shit. It's all bad on both sides. And there needs to be some sort of fucking reckoning at some point. I don't know where you go from this, how you sort of reverse the trend. I don't know how it happens, but it needs to happen.
Alleged that Piper Raquel's mother was mailing Piper's underwear to men who were interested in buying it. So there you have it. A lot of weird stuff surrounding this young girl online and many others like her. And it seems as though many of these young girls are being exploited by parental figures and parents in their lives. And while at the time I tried to reach out to sites like Brand Army to see if they were investigating this or doing anything about the junior accounts and the content that they were selling, we heard back from exactly 0 people. In fact, I don't know if this is related, but I tried to look into Brand Army again because of Piper Raquel's creation of this OnlyFans. And it looks like they've changed their name to wink.ing, and they're now operating under a new site. So I don't know why that is. But now, of course, we have the final update, and that is that Piper Raquel has turned 18 and started an OnlyFans. So, of course, she went from a 10-year-old who was having videos of shaving cream bath challenges posted on platforms like YouTube to an 18-year-old who is now selling sexual content online on OnlyFans. Now she's marketing this OnlyFans online, claiming to have made over $1 million in 24 hours, although some fans and followers are pointing out that this does not seem to be true, considering she did a bad Photoshop job and left a $sign where one was not supposed to be in her initial screenshot. Now she deleted that tweet, posted another alleging to have made over $2 million. So who knows how much money this young girl is raking in, but we do know that she's raking in money. Her OnlyFans does have quite a bit of traffic.
It doesn't really matter how much money she made in the 24-hour span. It really matters that a bunch of fucking people signed up for it because she's 18. But the whole problem with it is that, she's allowed to do whatever she wants at 18. Great, fine. You can do whatever you want. But the problem is that she's been, being exploited for this sexually explicit content since a very young age from her parents. And that this kind of stuff is celebrated because she's making quote unquote money. But does anyone know how she feels about it? Does anyone know if it's going against her will, or does anyone know if she's doing it actually because she wants to? Like, I don't know if anyone does sex work and OnlyFans or prostitution because they want to. Maybe most people feel like they have to do it. But is anyone looking into that? Her friends, her family? Because her mother's obviously turned her back on her and only uses her as sort of like a money-making scheme, which is very, very evil. But let's continue.
Although it might not be to the tune of $2.3 million or whatever it is that she's posted online. This unfortunately seems to be a new cycle that's being created online where young girls are becoming influencers and they're finding followers and fans who are interested in sexually suggestive content. Their parents or managers or whoever is creating this content with them is then leaning into the sexually suggestive nature that this content could be made in, and then following that to the furthest extent possible, which is the ability to be on sites like Brand Army or wink.ing as it's now called, and to be selling bikini-clad photos and suggestive photos. Then when these young girls turn 18, because they know the sexual nature and the sexual reality of their content and of their fans, they start an OnlyFans. This is where we get the Sophie Rains and the Lil Tays. And
let me sort of explain what I think here in terms of this. Like a lot of people get on OnlyFans and they're like, oh, I'm just gonna do like the same pictures I post on Instagram and it's gonna be fine. I'll be able to make money. It'll be great. But there's something about the audience, and you have to capture the attention, and you have to keep giving more and more and more, or else you're going to lose the audience that you have. You're going to lose the attention. They're going to go elsewhere. The only thing that I can relate this to is like I used to be a professional wrestler like WWE. And when I was very, very young in the business as an independent wrestler, I didn't have any money, wasn't getting any bookings, like had no name for myself. There's this like weird group of people that will buy like used ring gear and things like that. And so at the very start, I thought it was like normal. They're like, hey, can we, buy this shirt that you wore to the ring in? I was like, cool. Yeah, I don't have any money. I don't know why you want it from me. I'm not famous, but like, sure. And then as you continue saying yes to stuff, the requests get more and more and more and more out of control. And so that sort of vibe is the same vibe that can happen on OnlyFans. Of course, you start with like, oh, I'm just going to post some bikini photos and the stuff I wear to the beach and people see me everywhere. But then it's more. Can you do more? Can you do more? Can you do more? Can you do more? And now it's leading to you, I don't know, taking 50 dudes in the butthole like Lily Phillips or some fucking wild shit like that. And I get where that can go because the money starts to come in. You want to sort of keep the attention of the fans that come, but then you sort of lose all of your morals and you lose all your sense of self and you become a person that you don't even recognize, all because you wanted to make some money or you felt like you had to do it because you wanted to keep the audience that you had. I felt that way sort of when I was like selling, my ring shirts or my socks or whatever. And then the requests got sort of out of control. And thank God I was like able enough and started making money enough as a wrestler to be able to say no and step away from that and say, yeah, that's just not how I want to live my life. And I already sort of feel dirty about the whole thing. But you can see where that line goes and how deep it can actually be. And then you're 5-6 years in and you've done all this stuff and you can't really take it back because the internet is forever. And so that's just me explaining my perspective of how I see it. But then there's also on top of this for these young girls, there is a societal sort of element to it. There's a parental element. There's an objectification element to it. There's a money-making element. There's a fame element to it. Right? All of these things go into it.
Now the Piper Raquels, and it's so devastating to watch considering you can see the pattern of exploitation online being laid out right before your eyes and the natural conclusion, which is a freshly 18 OnlyFans. And what's really weird about the Piper Raquel situation, or particularly disturbing, is the obvious but alleged family involvement in everything that she's been creating. Here's a TikTok that
way to say that, like charitably obvious, but alleged, obvious, but alleged, but very obvious, but alleged parental exploitation. Yeah, it's pretty fucking obvious. It's pretty fucking obvious and gross and evil.
She posted recently involving her grandmother, supposedly.
Oh my god. Oh, she was gonna be so upset.
In honor of me just dropping my link, I'm going to show my grandma the first set I posted, okay? I feel like we're a family, and I think that we all have to be aware of what I'm doing. I'm scared. I'm scared.
Where the fuck? Your whole is hanging out. I did not raise you to do this shit.
Artsy.
Be artsy out that door. Get the fuck out of here now.
Are you being serious?
Now, obviously, this is a marketing bit. This grandmother is in no way, shape, or form actually upset about anything going on and anything that she's posting on.
Man, larger societal issue that everything is performative. Everything is for marketing. I'm going to cry on camera. I'm going to show my grandma my set so we can be honest with one another. And it's like all a performative marketing tool to get more people to do this and that. And it's like all so fucking gross. The only people that I like on social media are the people who I know are authentic. I watch a lot of Amala's videos. I hadn't watched this one yet. So I wanted to watch it live in real time, but I did watch the other two she did on this creator, quote unquote creator. And she's honest. She's real. That's why I like her. Right. Gary Vee said something the other day on one of his videos. Gary Vee said, basically, there are no original ideas. The only thing that makes content original is you. Now, of course, if you react to certain videos and news, right? Let's say sports, for example, there's 800 people who respond to an NFL football game. Why do I watch this guy? Because I like his vibe. I like his slang. I like the way he says stuff. I like the way he explains stuff. I like his sense of humor. What makes him original is not that he's commenting on an NFL game, but that he is unique because of him. And that's the only people I like on social. I don't follow a ton of people, and that's the only podcasts I listen to. That's why Joe Rogan has had a ton of success. And so when you see things like this that are all performative in nature, and they're there to manipulate and sell something all the time, no matter what, it's gross. And there's someone pulling the strings, exploiting them, especially when they're a young person. And the point is to buy their, sex work shit online. It's like all gross.
Line as a person who's just turned 18. And to me, that is deeply disturbing. If this even is her real grandmother, given her history on platforms like YouTube, it's so unfortunate that this is the reality that we're living in right now. And it's most unfortunate for girls like Piper, Raquel, who are not, I think, in the right mind space to understand that they've been exploited, to understand that this is grooming that took place on the internet, that took place with people around her allegedly, and that unfortunately set her on a path that was.
She might have an inclination or like an intuition that this is wrong, but this is like she grew up in this age where she saw people who were a little bit older than her doing this thing. So she thought that it was cool and fine and normal. And she doesn't think she's getting exploited. She probably think her mother is like having her back and encouraging her to be her best fucking self or whatever. But it's not that. And at some point she's going to come to that realization. Hopefully it's not too late in terms of, hopefully she can change her life and grow and be better and do whatever she actually wants to do instead of, selling her body online for the benefit of her mom and making money while, creepy dudes on the internet sign up for a barely 18 chick, which again, it's legal. Fine. I understand that. But she's been posting this type of content since she was very young. And then the pipeline to OnlyFans is natural because you have people who are celebrated in our culture for doing this type of shit.
More than likely going to end here no matter what took place. In my opinion, she's been set up since the age of 10 to have lived this reality of being an 18-year-old on OnlyFans. And while I cannot say with 100% certainty exactly who is responsible for grooming this young girl into this reality, I will say whoever is responsible is an extremely disturbed individual. And while Piper may be making a lot of money, like so many other young girls in her position are right now online, this is the product of grooming. There's really no other way to cut the cake. So yeah, guys, that's the unfortunate final update to the Piper Raquel situation. And I have a feeling it will be the update to so many other situations like hers. Unfortunately, there are still to this day so many children being exploited on the internet by so many different people, family members included. It's an unfortunate reality, a reality that we try to keep you guys up to date on, that we're constantly investigating and telling you guys about. And yeah, if you have kids, keep them safe, keep them off the internet, at least in this capacity, and make sure you're watching out for them, because the amount of people ready to exploit a child at any given moment is deeply concerning. Guys, okay. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single time I post a video for you guys, which is every day. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys.
Yeah, you better.
Thank you. She's incredible. Very much enjoy her videos and her commentary. So thank you for that. But yeah. So yeah, obviously the larger conversation there about OnlyFans and also about the men who sign up for the OnlyFans. They need to be held responsible for their behavior and their actions and why they're so lonely and why they feel the need to sign up for their OnlyFans. It's like this whole thing. We need a whole sort of reconstruction of culture and society and what's important and what's not important and what we should value and what we shouldn't value. And then also, her talking about child exploitation makes me think about my son and him being on the internet. Right now, he's only 4 months old. Right now, my son is only 4 months old. But where will the internet be? Where will technology be when he's able to actually use it? Right? If I go by Jonathan Haidt's advice, which I deeply encourage everyone to go by, he's not getting social media or a smartphone until he's 16. But that's 16 years from now. How advanced will technology be then? Will I have no choice? Will it be even more part of society than it is now? And so all of these things play a factor in our decision-making process. And will he be a social pariah because he doesn't have social or he doesn't have a smartphone when he's 12, 13, 14? Am I willing to make that sort of sacrifice for him to not have his phone so his brain can develop and, he can develop normally without this whole comparison shit and all this other shit that happens on social, right? Because even adults Even adults, myself included, have a hard time with the comparison trap on social, have a hard time not sort of getting doom scrolling or seeing the whole world and like, oh my God, everything's shit and like the whole world's burning on fire. It's like even adults have a hard time understanding these concepts that they're seeing on social because our brain is not meant to see a cat video, someone getting shot, a bomb going off, another cat video. Like we're not meant to, you know, understand and receive that information in real time. It just doesn't work like that. And so imagine an adult brain, excuse me, an adult brain can't handle it. So certainly not a children's brain, a child's brain. And what are they going to find on the internet, right? 16-year-olds in bikini pic, like nobody want, like that has to be, there has to be sort of a reconstruction of society and a reconstruction of our values around this specific thing and how we can protect our children from technology. And again, my son is 4 months old. What the fuck is it going to be like when he's in high school? What the fuck is it going to be like when he's driving a car? There may be so many different hurdles that we're going to have to climb, and we're going to have to do them together. My wife and I are going to have to make these hard choices, and we're going to have some pros and cons on these decisions. We're going to have to make some sacrifices, and he's probably not going to enjoy some of them. But what's the best possible choices we can make for him as a human being developing into this world, right? If he's a young, you know, my son, right? We talked about young men in the earlier video with Megyn Kelly, right? Is he going to develop into a competent, capable, you know, productive young man who can stand up for himself, who can provide, who can protect, who has the essence of masculine traits that he can go out into the world and do things and be a leader and be of service to other people? How do we develop those traits in my son? Well, one, I have to embody those traits, right? I have to line up my words and actions. I have to model that behavior with him, with my wife, in my business, in everyday life, so that he sees what it actually looks like. But we also have to teach him those behaviors. We also have to let him out into the world and, you know, have him make mistakes and fail and come back and hold himself accountable and be responsible for his actions. All of these great things that can happen, but you have to experience them in the world, not behind a screen and not being performative and not in social media and all these types of things. So hopefully when you learn that in the real world, you have that set of tools that you can then apply when you do go on social, because it is inevitable and it's not going anywhere. And so, yeah, that's what I think about. I think about that a lot. So those were two good videos. I'd never seen the Megyn Kelly one. Those two women that Megyn Kelly had on were cool. But Megyn Kelly's also gone into the deep end in terms of her conspiracy theories with Candace Owens. So I'm not going to comment on that part of her. But when she talks about dating and women and conservative women, that's kind of cool. But she has gone on the deep end in terms of having Candace Owens back for Candace Owens spewing the most horrific conspiracy theories of all time. But anyways, not the conversation we're having. And then, yeah, Amala has one of my favorite channels on the internet. I watch almost all of her videos. And so if you hadn't seen the other two that she did about Piper before you saw that one, I encourage you to check those out. And, you know, as an ending note, let's just take care of each other. Let's try and take care of each other the best we can. Let's uplift each other. Let's encourage each other. Let's try ourselves to take responsibility and ownership of our life. And so that bleeds out into the world. Let's be of service to other people. I think that's a huge thing. And then wherever you're watching this stream right now, please do subscribe or follow. I would really, really appreciate it. And then also on top of that, please check out my podcast, which is called Something for Everybody, on all major podcast platforms. The episode we have releasing tomorrow on Friday, January 16th, is a habits masterclass. So if you're interested in that at all, subscribe or follow on any of the platforms, or text me at my number 201-534-3681, and I will directly link you that podcast tomorrow when it drops. But other than that, cheers. Have a great day. I'll see you guys next time. Lots of love.